Welcome back to Seablock, Flickery Lights Edition. Yes, because I've got a bit of a vicious circle going on. I moved my steam engines, and that's probably something you shouldn't do, because it basically gets rid of any power that's in the system, so now it's having to refeed from this belt. But the problem is that we have all the fuel is coming out of these two factories. However, it's being fed by the steam engines. If they don't provide it with enough power, they can't produce the fuel fast enough, and then the two just defeat each other. So what I was thinking of doing was, at some point, feeding the rest of the factory from the steam engines, but feeding the fuel buildings from can we actually do that? I don't think we can at the moment because I don't have enough land to route around. What I'm probably going to do is have these poles head down, around, and then they'll just go to those two buildings so that the wind power will will basically produce anything we need, unless the wind dies down, in which case that might be a problem. But let's get on with today's episode and we'll see where we get to. Hopefully that will catch up on us. I've got a couple of a temporary setup here. You can move Factorissimo buildings quite easily. Just right click and hold, and it will eventually delete and put in your inventory, but it won't take all the stuff out of the factory building. It'll stay in there, which is really handy for moving stuff around your base and scaling up. Just as handy as having robots later in the game, and having bots, I should say, and having them with the blueprint system. So in the space, I've put a temporary setup here because I'm going to replace that with a building, but to get a building going, you actually need 500 stone. So I've got this just producing stone for the moment. It's got 150 or so at the moment. I've got 247 in my inventory now. And this is roughly what the buildings in its place is going to actually do. It's going to have more of these electrolyzers. Now, I'm not going to set up the whole thing that goes in this building. This is why this space is being used now. Because what I'm going to do is feed in slag into this building, like into this slot right here. Okay, and we're going to have it boosting this slag slurry, which is why I haven't set the Aruba. It needs more slag available. And then half of it, I think I'm going to donate to crushed stone, because crushed stone is going down here and we're not producing enough until we have enough slag slurry, so that should be helpful. But also half of it, if we process half of it into crushed stone, we can send half of it down onto this belt, you know, for example here, right now I'm just producing slag and that's going into stone, but if I cut this off, I can just quickly put this this stone onto this second belt here as well, so that'll help the fuel situation. Because the carbon in this bottom building, it is largely limited just by the crushed stone supply. See this? It's just waiting for it, and you'll see only 2 of these algae plants are in use. So in that sort of way, the first layer I did with the one with like 12 algae farms only depend on water is probably a better actual use of the whole thing. This one, that is. So this one will permanently run no matter what. But I like the idea of the crushed stone one, so I'm going to keep trying to use it, and if I really can't, then I'll get rid of it. But for the meantime, I just need to wait for some more stone. I need to wait for 500 stone, and then I'm going to put a building in its place, and we're going to set it up in a similar way to this, but not quite. I'm not going to have any of this processing on the right-hand side. All I'm going to do is have electrolyzers, which are going to consume power. Of course, that's going to be a bit of a problem, but they will be producing slag. Well, yeah, as I said, half of it will be processed. The other half will come in here to this building, and probably all the way down, you know, just to dump it right here. Okay, get the idea? Okay, let's bring you back after that's been done. And in an attempt to stop that power problem, you see I've got this small array here, and all that happens is whenever the main power cannot be supplied, i.e. this isn't connected to the rest of the power network at all, so if the power drops to these two buildings, they'll create demand, and the demand will pull from these. So whenever these are rotating, I know that the power isn't enough for these buildings. So you can see just how often right now they're being used. And they won't supply enough power for those two buildings, but they do give me a little bit of power, and they let me see just how much behind I am, and I am a fair amount behind. So I do need to get extra power going in here, and that means extra fuel, and I'm going to have to deal with that somehow. And now you're going to start seeing some slags coming in at the top right up here. And by the way, I did the research that let me get lights on the inside of the factories automatically. So I could pick up all the manual lights. I've got those in my inventory still. And this is just stuff coming from the normal process. It's not coming from our new building yet. It is coming down here. And all this has been taken out again. And that's just coming from our sorting from our sushi belt up here. I'm just going to call it a sushi belt. Not sure what else to actually call this. And let me just fill those up a little bit. So down here, I'm going to sort some other things. I did have to give up that new algae plant layout. So I went across the blueprints, saved a blueprint. So you can see exactly, well, let me just move that out a little bit. You can see it over there. That's the old one. And then if I shift scroll wheel, I can get to the new one and etc. And whenever I need to place stuff back down, and the electrolyzer building as well. So that is going to be very, very useful. And that did mean, of course, that I can get rid of all this here. And I still have some crushed stones coming here because I no longer need it for that new factory, the new layout. So we can just turn it straight into stone, which makes more Factorissimo buildings available, which means I can get another one of these down, hopefully. Is that equal spacing? I think it should be. Or is that equal spacing? That's going to annoy me if I don't get that right. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it should come up to there. And it does. Okay. So that is equal spacing. Oh, I could just look at this building. Never mind. So in here, then we can just place whatever we want. In this case, what we probably want to do is get electrolyzers down. So again, we'll drop our blueprint. This is only going to be a partial blueprint. It will go correct there, but we're not going to need basically this right-hand half of it. We're not going to be doing any of this processing. So I'll be placing down the left-hand side. We don't have any bots yet to automatically place down. It's unfortunate, but that's something we have to deal with. And then I can deal with pretty much the rest of it from there. We are going to have to go outside and probably deal with the byproducts because we will still get some oxygen and hydrogen. I'm not sure if we can flare stack inside. You know, that's probably worth actually testing. Can we flare stack that inside? There is my oxygen. And there's my oxygen line. I mean, it is voiding it, so I guess it could. Yeah, it looks like it can flare stack inside fine. So because I don't need that right now, I think that's oxygen anyway. Is it oxygen? Hydrogen. Where? It was going to be right one of the times. I can save that space outside and just get rid of it on the inside. At least until I need it properly. Cool. Okay, which means that what I'm going to do is do exactly the same setup from the other side. The only thing we need to basically deal with here is that because this other factory is not going to be producing anything other than the slag and the crushed stone, whatever you can see here, for example, we are actually feeding that out now, presumably. What are we short of? We're short of sulfuric acid. Why are we short of sulfuric acid? Sulfuric acid. Are we short of sulfur? Sulfur dioxide. Sulfur. Yes, we're short of sulfur because we're short of hydrogen sulfide. Then that should be provided outside by the other factory. By this one. Why are you not working? Oh, did I forget to connect up the... Yeah, I did forget to connect up the... Yeah, this viscous mud water. We need that to make everything work. And yeah, that needs to be connected a little bit closer. Well, that's annoying. Well, it'll go to there. Okay. Whoops. And go from there to there. That should turn everything on once I place that last piece of pipe. Okay. Are you now going to turn on? Looks like you are. Everything's kicking on. And that's going to produce hydrogen sulfide gas again. Yeah. When you move these, do remember to reconnect everything that you need into and out of them. Otherwise, things just don't work quite as well. So, yeah. Anyway, I'll go and put the rest of this down. This will be a power hog, remember. So we do want to check out our power. You'll see that's nicely comfortable now. With this building has been replaced, you'll see the output is producing carbon. This one is not actually doing any of the... I've basically eliminated the line that went out of here that produces the prerequisite charcoal. And I've not even filled all of the actual algae spots yet, and it's still fine. It's still producing enough capacity. So even though it's less efficient, I suppose, on its output in terms of the amount you get out per operation, it's still actually more than good enough for this. And these are no longer needed. But that's fine. I will leave them there just in case I do anything stupid again, which is, you know, going to happen. So in here I go and I'll start actually building electrolyzers. Now I did take a look at electrolyzer Mark IIs, but they are actually, oh, I've got 5 here anyway. They need science that we just can't get yet. So we're going to have to deal with this in a different way for the moment. Where's my electrolyzers? I can show you where we can do that. Electrolyzers. I think you're in one of these. Yeah, advanced chemistry. It needs green science, and we don't have green science yet. Electrolyzer Mark II, there it is. But that is 50% faster. It produces a little bit more pollution, but they're inside a factory. And it does not consume 50% more power, more importantly. So that's the best of all worlds. We get much better output, and we don't have to basically... you know, increase the power by the amount. So we're not just saving on space, we're saving on power effectively for the same output, which is good. And we should probably switch across to it when we get green science. But I'm going to put this building down first, and I'll bring you back once I'm done there. And our building's now done. It's much leaner inside, I'll show you in a second, but just to show you outside, what we actually want here is for this line, which here is slag. You'll see everything else is piled back here because we need some fuel up there. In fact, let me just briefly, oh well, that's all being consumed again by the power. Regardless, we need some fuel up there in a minute. Do I have any in my inventory? Yeah, let's dump that there for now. Okay, it's mostly iron up there. We want the slag coming out here, and we'll be producing more because of this. We want the slag coming out of here and coming onto this belt, so we're just going to feed that back around. There's nothing inside yet to actually do this, but there we go. And it shouldn't really much matter that this is coming onto one side of it for the moment, although we can just rearrange that, I think. Yes, we can. Maybe? If I get rid of you for a second, can I rearrange this to just go like that? We're going to send this around. Like that, and then I'll have to rearrange this one. But you get the idea. I can sort it. And that will just mean I can just bring this back one. Like that. And then into a split, into a merger, basically. So that'll work no matter how much of stuff is coming in. We just have to reroute this over the top. And like that, which will work. Okay, but this is all going to be moved inside of the factory in a second anyway, so it's just more of a temporary thing than anything else. So the other 2 outputs we're going to have here, one is going to be for let's see, what are we going to have an output here? One is going to be for stone. Yeah, it's going to be this. It's going to be moved inside. And the other one is probably going to be something else. I'm going to just split things up and get everything working. Here's our slag, and we've got it available to work with. So where's the top output? Is it the next to top? So that's one of our outputs. That's another one. That's the third one. Okay, and we decided what we want on these 2. It doesn't really much matter. So we're going to take this and turn it into anything we want. In this case, we're not going to do anything with it other than just split it. So if we split it, half of it is going to end up basically heading out of the factory, and that's what I want to get started with. I'll build more belt and bring you back once I've done that. I'll take it out and just send it out of the factory. Right now it'll send everything out, and that's fine for the moment. We will need to deal with that later, but you know, it's fine for the moment. And there it is. The other half I'm going to split again, and we're going to leave these in non-prioritized mode. We could put them in prioritized left, I suppose, but non-prioritized mode for the moment. I know we can change those quite easily later. And I'm going to split it again. Now we're going to do that just again with another splitter. So that we're going to get with a quarter of this factory's output going to each of whatever I put on these 2 splitters. So one here and one here. Okay, and then all we need to do with this is decide what we want to do with it. And in my case, I think I'm going to produce land with one of them and basically stone with the other. And that needs a little bit more complicated thing on terms of the stone. But if we just have, let's say something, oh, I don't know, it doesn't really much matter here. Let's put it there. Okay, and let's just feed that in. We're going to produce crushed stone from the slag. And that crushed stone is going to need to go into an assembly building just to make regular stone. So let's just put some more slag in there just to get rid of that. Assembly building, I don't think I have one. Assembly. Yes, that can... Oh, I do already have two. That's fine. We'll just direct feed from one into the other with a couple of inserters. Once it finished... Oh, I don't actually need any more of those. That's faster. So we're going to feed from one into the other. This one is just going to be, what was I wanted to produce? Land, was it? So I think it's sand it's under. It gets produced from crushed stone. So that will go from that. We'll get fed out this way. And into a box. Okay. The other one, in fact, hang on, do I want the sand, land, that up there? Depends if I want to scale more. What's the stone recipe? I think that's just... crushed stone. Yeah, let's just have that be the stone box up there. And then pretty much the equivalent, we just want to do exactly the same with another crusher. And wherever we want to put it, like here, for example. And then on that output, we'll do exactly the same. Feed you, feed you to you. And this is going to be another assembly machine, which is similar recipes. There we go. And this one is going to be the sand. Okay, so that one, that's mud. Now, I would like for this to be a grass recipe from this, but it doesn't really much make sense to convert crushed stone into grass. Nice though it would be, no. So you end up with a lot of sand, basically. But we do have mud producing grass on another route out as well. So you see, that's all working now. Land, stone, and some bonus slag, which of course is coming out from the rest of this. You are all full on the output because I haven't connected up all of the hydrogen yet. And it looks like we're having power problems again. Probably something to do with the fuel. I'll check that again in a minute. And I just want to get one more piece of copper pipe here to connect this up. And then everything will get flare stacked here. So all those should be... Well, you blocked. You're blocked on the hydrogen. Why are you blocked on hydrogen? You should all be feeding out hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen into the flare stack. Why are you blocked? Am I not connected? That's not connected somehow. Hydrogen. Is that not? That is connected. Why is it 0 there and 100 there? Is that just a block in the capacity of the pipe? I'm not, you know, hallucinating that, am I? Okay, I will put another flare stack down, or I will create a parallel path. Maybe that will actually help. Parallel path. Let me sort that one out. Never mind, it wasn't actually placed. That's the only reason why. It looked like it was placed. It shows the highlight like that. It's just, because it's in the shadow, it's really hard to tell. So yeah, just make sure you place all your actual blueprints down. Otherwise, a ghost plan will really not help you produce enough stuff. Anyway, that's all that done. And yeah, you can see here, I put basically electric inserters as well, just to boost the power that would the basically fuel that was being fed into these. But clearly we still don't have enough fuel, and that's going to be just algae farms, I think, at this particular point. Yeah, I'm going to put more algae farms here. You'll see not all of these buildings are on, so I'm going to sort that out off camera, but that will just be by building more algae farms. And hopefully I have enough materials for those. Algae farms, not yet. I need stone bricks and basic circuit boards. Stone bricks we can just make in a furnace, that's not a problem, from stone, which handily is being brought out here. So now I can take this out of the way. Okay, and I can just basically deal with that a little bit differently. Now I can probably send it in somewhere. It'd be nice to send it back into this factory to be processed. Crushed stone is used by both of these, so either of those two top slots will be fine. Sorry about the flickering. Unfortunately, they're blocked here. That would be nice. I guess I could route that somewhere else. Yeah, I could route that somewhere else. 1 second. And this is all dependent upon how much your steam engines can produce, based on how much fuel you can actually produce. You can see here, they're okay. I've disconnected these last two for the moment. It's fine to reconnect them as long as you're producing enough fuel, but I also removed the buildings in here. 2 of them are still going. Everything else is perfectly placed. All I need to do is put down the buildings one at a time whenever I want more slag, i.e. when I can afford it with my power. Otherwise, everything is nicely balanced now. You can see I have excess power and it is static, and these are all off, which is good. We can actually even, once that is the case, just connect them back up again. That will take some of the load off the steam engines, which should help it even further. They hopefully should then reduce the actual load on these, which should increase the amount of fuel that gets back stuff on this belt, which is good because I need lots of fuel really up here. We are going to want to get to Angel Smelting fairly soon, but we don't have it yet. So I'm going to want to think about sending a line up there to keep those fed. Now, I am not going to connect it up yet, but I am going to run the line. And we're going to run the line from back here, around these, up to here, and then we'll have to rearrange things. I don't want this sushi belt for too much longer. We are going to get to Angel Smelting, I promise. It just means I need to get a couple of other things sorted, but to get to Angel Smelting, you absolutely need fed in carbon. You need enough of it to actually, for that to actually happen. I think even charcoal. Let me just check. It's like molten, isn't it? So molten, doesn't really much matter which recipes. Let's take a look at molten copper, copper ingots, copper ore. That's in a blast furnace Mark 1. That's the actual block that you need. And the blast furnace Mark 1 needs basically fuel. And it's not, unfortunately, it's not an arc furnace. It's a blast furnace. So it needs lots and lots and lots of basically coal equivalent, burnable stuff. And that's going to need steel plate. And I think we've already got all the technology for it. So let's take a look at a blast furnace. Can we make it yet? We can. Okay, so I will make one just so I can see what actually is going to input and output. I'm going to just dump in some of the slag into this building and get everything done from there. I'm just going to dump it into the sand pile, and then the same thing for this crushed stone. I'm probably going to my inventory as well. Yes, crushed stone can go in the stone pile. Okay, and it just pops out here. I'm making stone bricks because they're quite useful. I'm just making them manually for the moment, and it's just this little manual furnace. Otherwise, we're fine here. So next research we should take a look at. I'm not too sure which one I'm going to want to go for. Tin smelting is tempting, and so is lead, because both of those are Angel Smelting versions. The molten versions basically are Angel's versions. Don't need oil burning boiler, and we don't have green science for any of that. Nitrogen, not sure I'm going to need compressed air just yet. No cement, so I'm going to just go for electrolysis, zinc, cobalt, lithium. I don't think I need any of that. The alternative thing is warehouses. Warehouses is a safe bet. Warehouses is a big box, a really, really, really big box. It doesn't take much room on the actual map, but imagine like Factorissimo. It's pretty much like that, but for boxes. You don't see them inside, you don't walk inside them, but they just are gigantic boxes, basically. And we'll pick up there. You see we've got lots of sand available to make more territory, and that's just going to keep on increasing as we have a power budget to spare. Okay, so I'm going to run this belt off camera, and I'll bring you back for that once I've got some more iron plate, it seems. Hopefully there's plenty in there. There is plenty in there. So I'm going to run that around, and then I'm going to reroute these so that they are fed properly with the resources, and maybe rearrange them a little bit just to get them running temporarily. In fact, actually, that's a good point. Can we just go straight to blast furnaces? Did that get built? It did get built. Let's take a look at what a blast furnace needs. Blast furnace, to use the recipe, and you're going to insert fuel, you're going to insert iron ore. So that's good, because that means we can basically just grab again from this sushi belt for the moment, but not for very much longer, we can just grab and put stuff into there. Now, that's not the only step. Once you have a blast furnace, you need the other steps as well. So metallurgy, casting, metallurgy, smelting are in here. You need the next two machines. One is an induction furnace and the other one is a casting machine. Induction furnace is going to need some steel plates, but I can do that just again manually. You just go and make me some steel plates. And then the casting machine, you need a few of them for the output of the induction furnace. Now, I think it's one blast furnace to one induction furnace. And then I think it's to 2 or 3, if not more, casting machines. And they all cast straight into actual plates. So we're going to get rid of, or we're not going to worry about warehouses. I'm going to get rid of all of this stuff, and then we'll reform a sort of iron and copper smelting area up here. And I'm just going to dump in some more land so that I have room for that. There we go. And I think that's going to be enough room, or at least to get started with. We'll come back to it later. All right, so I'm going to set it up and bring you back. And this belt is now run. We've got this set to output priority to the power systems. We don't want any of that to be starved, so only when we get some excess do we get some on this belt, and you can see it's already piling up. So we do have excess in the system, and it's coming up here to this blast furnace where it's being fed into with a nice inserter. And then the other belt is just scrolling past here, and that will actually get fixed very shortly. This thing you can see already has 72 ingots in it just from a very short period of time. It now needs everything else, so we now need an induction furnace following on from it. So let's just put that facing upwards, and we're going to need inserters for inserting one into the other. Let me just actually move that across by, I want to say 2, just keep everything lined up. There we go, and we're going to select the same recipe for this. We're going to go over molten iron, and that's going to start passing in stuff. Now, I'm probably going to want more than one inserter at that point to empty this out, but we'll see how many it needs from there. And you see this very quickly turns this into molten iron. Molten iron can then be cast out, and that cast is going to be done with casting machines. I've made 2 already. They have lots of inserts and outside options. For this, what I normally would do is just do something like this, and then have, do we have any spare pipe? Probably not. Let's just make a little bit more. Got plenty of copper. There we go. And all of that, we'll go and bring it out to here. Of course, we need to feed in some power. That may be where I want to maybe space this out a little bit more. Yeah, let me just space this out a little bit more. That may have wasted some product, but it's fine. There you go. And then that should keep us available with power. Yep. And then we just select the same thing here, molten iron. Okay. And at this point, you will end up with a belt coming out with iron on it, just as you normally would before. So that's Angel's smelting, basically. And now you have lots and lots of, potentially lots, I should say, of iron available. And this is going to come out to here and send it to wherever you like. In this case, just for the moment, while I set other things up, I'm just going to put it in a box, but that will quickly change. There we go. And in it goes. So all of that is your line. You're going to want to basically do exactly the same thing, but for copper. So why don't we just do the same thing on the other side? Do I have another blast furnace? I don't think I do. Did I make another blast furnace? I did not. Okay, I'm going to make identical setup to this, but for copper. Otherwise, this belt here is just going to end up being just copper, and that won't do much at all. So I need some more iron plates, which is good, because we're going to need to just convert those into steel for the most part, and we'll get going from there. Okay, and here we have the full setup with both iron and copper. Now, I did make sure to leave extra space for a third casting machine. If I remember rightly, you do need a third one. It's just that we don't have really enough going through this yet, or maybe we're blocked on some things. Yeah, that is blocked on the output because this is blocked up here. So let's just change that across to the other offset. And of course, we need to put more stuff into boxes up here, but you get the idea. We've got 2 outputs for iron and copper, and then on the iron side, I'm splitting it off, and half is going down into just some steel I can pick up occasionally, and that is being fed by a line I rearranged here to have our sushi belt going around the outside of this this charcoal excess line, and everything else here should actually be working. We are just needing more stuff to be just actually put a couple more boxes up here. just as a temporary thing before we decide what to do next. So that can all just start feeding in there, and I don't have to worry about it. Of course, now we have both iron and copper. With some more land, I can feed everything back into the same sort of science setup we had previously. You'll see our sushi belt is now emptying, which is what it should be. We have mineral sludge for days at the moment. We'll see how well that goes. Obviously, all of our sludge is pouring through into that original factory. And it is nicely piling up in here as well. So yes, we have no shortage of sludge. Which is good. And then what I can probably do is add more of these electrolyzers back in, depending on the power. Power's still okay, and we don't have any problems supplying it down here. I've got a slightly larger array down here just in case, but it is connected to the rest of the network, and by that pole I can just disconnect that pole and everything goes off. You can actually just put like a power relay or something in it later. For here, I'm just merging onto the top side of the belt. That seems to be the preferential side of the belt on this side because of the way everything gets inserted. So we are basically inserting onto the top here. That's basically producing more than enough outbound. So everything's pretty good, and we've got Angel Smelting set up. So that'll be probably it for today's episode. If you want any questions about Angel Smelting, please feel free to put them in the comments below. Otherwise, I'm going to move this ore sorting facility out. We're going to basically build out more land to the right here, probably separate these out as well, and then have a separate rubite setup that is pretty equivalent to this, because right now if I need more onto this belt, all I can need to do is just change it back and just change that across to this, and then we can just feed this way, you know, or reroute it slightly depending on what we want to do. Yep, and just feed in more. Okay, that's not actually connected. That helps. And then feed in more on the top side with a couple more inserters. And that will make sure that we use up all of our available incoming ore, or crushed ore, that is. But that's all fine. Yep, this is green and yellow. Yellow is normally pretty fine. It's just that we're blocked on the output then, so we can just need to feed out more inserters to get rid of it. Yep. And at some point, we're just going to basically not be able to supply it fast enough, at which point we add inserters on the input. But from here, we do exactly the same thing, and that will work in the same way. So we get more and more iron and copper for not really a lot of more infrastructure. This is much, much better than the previous one, and well worth changing to as soon as you possibly can. Alright, if you enjoyed the episode, give it a thumbs up. Next episode, we will get on to probably rubite setups and stuff like that. And for now, that's me signing off. As always, guys, thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you next time for some more Seablock.